Hey, so for the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing something a little different here on Scar Bearers. I have been blessed to have over 125 videos, which includes interviews, posted on the Scar Bearers channel. And as life tends to do, it has given me the opportunity to talk with some fantastic guests, a few of those who have recently passed away. One of those, whose name was Justin Altig-Atwood, is someone I got to know a little bit better last year. And while I didn't know Justin really well, the time we spent together is something I'll always cherish because I was able to glimpse into his life a little bit, and I saw a funny, compassionate, insightful man. And I really hope this tribute of a reposting of our interview is something you will cherish as well. So without further ado, here's my interview with Justin Altig-Atwood. Hey, welcome to episode 43 of Scar Bearers. I'm Chris D.T. Gordon. It is fantastic to have you here with me today. Nate and Britton Barron working their post-production magic. You want to reach out to them to work on your projects, reach out to them at Nate Barron. So the book Blue Talks presents Business, Life, and the Universe. Volume 3 is, at this time, still on pre-order, so you can grab it at bluetalksbook.com. I share my story with all kinds of other inspirational authors. I really hope you go and check that out. And you can also get volumes 1 and 2 and have yourself just a plethora of words that start with P so I can keep the alliteration going. Yeah, it's been a long day. All right, and you heard the laugh of my new friend and interviewee, Justin Altig-Atwood. Justin, how are you today, my friend?
I'm living the dream, but I think somebody took some bad medication before they went to bed.
You know, that happens sometimes. That definitely has a chance of occurring. And speaking of occurring, we are brethren of the NF community. We are survivors of necrotizing fasciitis, and we both received this wonderful gift in a very inconspicuous way. My listeners know that I scratched the back of my right hand on my garage wall. How did you receive your wonderful gift?
Well, I was gifted with it by a ingrown hair on my upper right thigh. And
Okay.
it existed there for about 3 or 4 days. And I went into the hot tub at my parents' house, figuring I could let the chlorine kind of open the wound and clean it out. And that night, I woke up about midnight with literally everything coming out both directions and barely being able to walk.
That doesn't sound pleasant.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't until about 2:30 the next day that my mom got home from work and said, "I'm taking you to the ER right now."
So how close was the hospital to you that she took you to?
I was lucky we're only about 10 minutes away from it.
Nice.
Oregon Health Sciences University, an amazing hospital with some really killer doctors.
I hope that killer is being, a little figurative there, not literal.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking. All right. So they get you into the hospital. They admit you, I'm assuming, and then where does your story go from there?
Well, at about 7 o'clock at night, the doctor came in and pronounced it as NF, and I was sitting there going, "I don't know what you mean." They said your blood work came back and you have Streptococcus pyogenes, and I still scratched my head. I was delusional.
Okay.
And
Those are lovely Latin words, sir.
oh
I,
yes,
I know
such
not what
wonder.
you mean. Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I wake up in the post-op, and they've
Okay.
taken a chunk out of my leg. I've got a wound vac hooked up to me. The chunk was the size of my hand,
Okay. Wow.
so that was a little shocking when I actually woke up. It was like, what's going on? What happened?
Mm. And so now I experienced some pretty interesting hallucinations because I was on ketamine along with other painkillers. What were you on? Were you on anything that kind of gave you some interesting sights and visions?
No, not really. After I came out of it, I was pretty coherent.
Okay.
They started me on vancomycin, and
Mm.
then they went to clindamycin, and then Zosyn, and finally sent me home on amoxicillin.
Okay. All right. And so
So
what physical state were you in besides Oregon when you left the hospital? Were you able to walk under your own power? Were
yes,
you using a cane? Okay. All right.
actually, when I was in the hospital, um, I expressly asked the doctors to show me how to unplug my wound vac so it would operate on battery, and I could put it on my IV stand. And I did jokingly my circuits for sanity, where I would walk the floor of the hospital as many times as I could until I got tired, and then I'd go
Mm.
back to my room and reset everything back up and climb back in my bed.
That is so important. That's so great that you decided to do that because I know I was in the hospital a little longer than you, and I know I just knew that I needed to get up and walk as soon
Yeah.
as I could and get that exercise and get that blood flowing and get up and be active. And so that's really cool that you were able to do that so quickly. What was your largest number of laps in a row?
I think by my last day in the hospital, I was able to get 6 laps around the ward before my leg would finally just go, I'm done, go to bed.
Well, it's good that it was telling you to do that because if you started walking without it, you may not get far.
Face plant.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So take us after you left the hospital. What was life like for you then?
After I left the hospital, at the time, I was living with my parents, with my wife and my daughter, and they sent me home with almost nothing. I mean, I had to buy my own wound care supplies, everything like that, and take care of my own wound. I only had one after, whatever you want to call it, visit after that, in which
Post
I got,
are you post discharge visit?
yeah.
Okay.
And that point, I got to ask them, hey, why is my leg numb from the knee up? Oh, we cut nerves.
Ooh,
Will I ever get feeling back? No. Oh, thanks. Well, you guys are so helpful.
okay. So
So
I'm
that's
sorry.
part
Go
of the
ahead.
reason I really didn't need painkillers, was because I couldn't feel my upper thigh.
Yeah, that explains it. If you have no pain, there's no pain to kill.
Exactly, which
Yeah.
was nice at the time, but
Mm.
as it's gone on in the years, it's become a real pain because I don't always notice if I bump into things on that portion of my thigh until a bruise shows up, and then I get really
Yes.
scared.
Yeah, I experienced that as well. In fact, the other day, my son and I went sledding, and my listeners know that I have skin grafts on the vast majority of my right arm, including my
Mhm.
elbow. And I apparently landed hard on the sled because later at night, when I took off my sweatshirt, I just happened to brush my left hand against my right elbow and found it was wet and red all over. I was like a
Oh,
newspaper. And so, yeah, not having feeling in parts of your body is a double-edged sword. So you got to pay attention. Uh,
it gets really scary sometimes.
mhm. Yeah, I know. So, what have there been any uh, like really dangerous instances where you look down and something is definitely not right? Not right.
I've been lucky enough that I haven't had any major instances on my leg where something like that happened. A couple of years ago, I got a real bad cat bite that festered, and
Ooh.
that was on my hand. So I really had to take care of that because I did not want to end up back in the hospital.
Yeah. And in speaking of that, do you have a heightened sense of anxiety because of that ingrown hair, sending you to causing NF?
Yes, I do. It really, I mean, honestly, it should be considered PTSD, but no doctor has diagnosed me with it, no matter how hard I've tried to say, hey, I need some help here, people.
I know we've talked off the recording about the Necrotizing Fasciitis Worldwide Facebook page.
Yeah,
Have you been able to connect with a lot of people on there?
I try to connect with about one person a week, and usually it's if it seems like their story is similar to mine, or they might just need a helping ear or helping thought, and I'll post, just little bits and pieces of my story and say, hey, I can relate, and keep up the, glad you made it type thing.
Okay, yeah, that is very important, I think, because I had done a little research lately, and the latest stats for NF there are anywhere between 700 and 1,200 cases annually, and 10% of those are fatal, unfortunately. But and those seem like big numbers, but when you consider that there are over 300 million people in the United States, that percentage drops really low. And so it's still considered very rare.
And the other real rare thing that I've found, at least from the stories I've read on the Facebook page, is how often, or I shouldn't say how often, but how rare it is that you don't lose a piece of your body to amputation as a result of NF.
Yeah, I know that at one point I was very close to that. It was only because of the deft eyesight and observation of the occupational therapist that was in my second surgery that I was able to keep my right arm. So yeah, I was very close to that myself.
It's something you don't ever think about. I mean, I never heard of necrotizing fasciitis, flesh-eating bacteria. I'd heard of flesh-eating bacteria, but that was like science fiction.
Yes, yeah. It's like I think we are talking about the other day that it's like, as you know, I'm a comic book geek, so I was like, oh, that's a perfect origin story.
Yeah.
So it's like something that that's what caused Swamp Thing, isn't it? So it definitely is something that seems out of science fiction or fiction for that matter, but it is definitely real.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many of us are the Wolverines of the X-Men community.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have proof that I am. But I wasn't very nice to my best friend. I cut off his hand to give to Mark Hamill. That's another
That's right.
story
I remember you talking about that with Mark Hamill.
Yeah. So, Justin, going back to how you were giving people encouragement, what would you tell someone that wanted your perspective on your situation and what you learned from it?
That's a tough one because I mean, I've learned two different perspectives, and one of them is a very dark perspective, and one of them is a very positive perspective. The dark perspective is I've walked with death enough times now. My dance card is full. Please, I'm not going back. The other perspective is okay, I still have more things to do in this world. I have been there, done that, and now I need to figure out why I'm still here.
Okay.
And the encouraging aspect of that is if you survive, you still have something more to do, something better to do for this world to make it better as a whole. And that's what encouragement I try to give people.
I'm not sure if you realize how valuable that is, Justin, because there are so many people who feel that once they go through something like this, even though they survived, that it seems like they're just on this earth to struggle and to suffer. But I absolutely love that message. Do you have any aspirations for sharing that message, outward? Obviously, you would share it outward.
I would like to actually find some way to become a voiceover artist.
Okay.
And
I
then,
know you were showing off some of your skills earlier.
yeah, I can get a little Kermit the Frog going on, and depending on how my voice is, I might be able to get my Elmo.
Oh, yes. See, Elmo is tough because you can get the bass layer, but when you try to laugh, it really stresses your voice cords, music instrument.
Tongue in the back of your throat and stick out your nose.
Yeah. So you really have to warm that up. You just can't throw Elmo out right off the bat. You need a warm up act, and so I commend you on that.
So it's kind of fun because I've got a bunch of other voices, but some of them aren't quite, how can I put it, good for children.
Yeah, there are audiences for all kinds of audiences for different characters. So, no, have you done any research into where you would uh, audition or where you would get voiceover work?
I do know that in my local area, the movie Coraline was made here.
Oh, wow.
So there is some movie work going on in Portland, Oregon. So, but with COVID and everything, it's all just like,
Mm-hmm.
so, and I'm sure with you going through flesh-eating bacteria with COVID right now, it's probably also heightened your awareness of things like that.
It has to an extent, but I don't mean to sound cavalier about the situation, but my mindset is, I'll just do the best I can and I will be safe. I mask up everywhere. I follow protocol. But I still run. I still practice my Taekwondo. And, when safe, we still, I still take my wife and I take our kids on excursions and stuff. I am the doctor though of the family. As soon as a kid gets a cut though, Becky says, go to dad. And hey, there's a cat. I take care of them and get cleaned out. Well, hello, you.
Hello, Ziva.
Hello, Ziva, is it?
Yeah, Ziva.
Ziva. Okay. And how old is Ziva?
Ziva is about a year and a half.
Okay. So I'm barely still a kitten.
Yeah. And one hell of a little sweetie.
Oh, good. Well, that also helps in any situation to have a little sweetie in your house.
The animals have actually been some of the biggest help. My black cat, he just is a lap kitty. He'll climb right over where my scar is, and it's like he's almost just covering it.
Well, that's nice. I know that for a time we had a cat and a dog. We just have a dog now, but just having those animals around who love you unconditionally. At least dogs do. Cats can be a little finicky. You have to watch out for them. But when they give you that love, that's extra special.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize some things about life, especially after having faced necrotizing fasciitis, that little bit of love sometimes can mean so much, even if you just give it yourself.
That also is a huge lesson, Justin. I appreciate you bringing that up. Being able to see the good and the seemingly insignificant things in our lives, I think is a huge part of what helped me get through my ordeal and help me keep a positive mindset. And I think that, if especially people who are suffering and are recovering from a traumatic event like NF, or just going through their day to day, if they just count how many small blessings they have, they'll find that list gets longer and longer the more they think about it.
That is true. I spent about a year after I had NF. I was homeless down in Grants Pass, Oregon. And when I finally got back to society, I found the biggest thing that I enjoyed was having a toilet.
Yeah, it's, we talk about first world problems. We complain about the Wi-Fi being out, or, oh, my resolution on my camera isn't good. Like you said, somebody would be like, oh wow, your toilet works, awesome.
Exactly. It really brings things into perspective, and I think that's what NF did for me, was it brought life into a completely different perspective.
Mhm. Yeah, that is amazing, and I'm so happy that you have that mindset. And so, Justin, if someone wanted to reach out to you, how could they do that?
Honestly, the best way to reach out to me would be through email, Justin Altig-Atwood at gmail.com. All one word, no hyphens. So other than that, you can find me on Facebook, but generally speaking, I'm a relatively private person. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'll respond.
Mhm. Just you just don't get scared off by the Guy Fawkes mask, right?
What's that?
Just don't get scared off by the Guy Fawkes mask, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Exactly. Don't worry. V for Vendetta. It's just one of my favorite movies.
It is a good one. Well, Justin, I greatly appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me today. It's been an honor to talk with you.
It has been great talking to you as well. It is nice to actually talk to another NF survivor. It is so rare to actually find that. And the hardest problem I've found, when you tell someone that you're a flesh-eating bacteria survivor, they look at you almost like you're, "Ew, get away from me."
Yeah, they do practice that social distancing a bit too much when you say that.
Yeah, yeah. And
But
so I finally just learned to stop telling people.
yeah, or you just say, well, if I still had it, you wouldn't be talking to me unless you're a medium. So
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
yeah. Well, yep. So everyone, if you want to reach out to Justin, you can email him at justinaltigatwood@gmail.com or find him on Facebook. You can find me at linktr.ee/Chris D.T. Gordon. That's where I have my podcast and YouTube channels, my speaker websites, the link to Blue Talks Book Presents, Blue Talks Presents Business Life in the Universe, Volume 3. You can order the book there. And there's some other goodies on there. But please like, subscribe, share this episode and my other episodes as well. I want those messages to be shared as far as they can go. And mostly and lastly, thank you very much for joining me. Please have a great day. Remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.